So within the clause that was released last year, it defines CUI as basically information that the government creates or possesses, and that's an important element there. It is still federal information. This is not at this point information that we generate, but the government creates or the government possesses that they need to maintain systems to control. So CUI is information the government creates or possesses, or that an entity creates or possesses for or on behalf of the government. It does not include classified information or information that a non-executive branch, that is us, so that is university, or information that a university possesses or maintains in its own systems that does not come from, created or possessed by, or for an executive branch agency. And I think that's a very, very important distinction. These regulations were written to cover government information, systems that we run and operate on behalf of the government, but was not intended to cover information that we ourselves generate. I think it's an important distinction, and as we start to see contracts that implement some of these clauses, that part right there is certainly one of the very strong requirements that I would fall back on in your negotiations with regards to whether or not protections should or shouldn't apply to your particular project. Okay? So again, there's categories and subcategories within the designations that they're calling out, and I think the only thing is important here to just become familiar. I think, again, we've moved from the protections around health information and defense information to very basic agricultural and biological and other physical science information that historically had not been covered. So I would simply call that out so that you are aware that those exist, but also because in that clause it references that agencies are not to be putting other categorizations and controls around things. So this is intended, intent of the federal government to standardize that. We all know through the attempts with grants.gov over the last 20 years to standardize, it hasn't always been 100% effective, and that the standardization has resulted in some agencies supplementing with their own forms or having their various deviations, and we'll expect the same in this phase as it goes along. But the intent certainly is that there's one classification of information, one categorization of information, that the agencies aren't supposed to proliferate their own versions of those categories to put extra controls on or different controls on locally. So that's another important part. And again, I want to stress the part that I pulled out of the preamble where the CFR was released in the Federal Register. That preamble states information that non-executive branch agencies, us the universities, that we generate ourselves. If it's research projects and we are testing samples and we are creating the data sets, does not meet the federal definition of CUI and is not to be covered. This is information which they create or possess and provide to us. It's an important intent, and again, I would leverage those clauses within the conversations that you might be having with sponsors.